We're approaching the end of the year. Not just a time for looking back at what's happened, but for also seeing what's likely to happen in the next 12 months. Now, we think one of the biggest trends is going to be no big APTs. Sounds like a good thing, but actually what we think is happening is that the big sophisticated APT players are going to be trying to evade detection by using less obvious ways of getting access to systems. Now, this might mean subverting hardware. It might also be manipulating the system to find undetectable ways of attacking us. And that means operating not just below the application level, but below what the kernel operates at as well, so-called negative rings. So this could be hypervisor type attacks. It could be by manipulating system management mode. When it comes to sophisticated targeted attackers, it's not always possible to apprehend the people who are responsible for it, especially when it's a nation-state sponsored attack. So what we're starting to see, we think, is the beginnings of a sort of public retaliation. In other words, manipulating the media as a way of getting back at people that you think are responsible for a targeted attack. This year we've seen several examples where the US has named and shamed attackers from North Korea, Russia and China who they believe are responsible for attacks within their territory. Advanced persistent threats have been with us for some time, and actually now we have a very complex threat landscape where there's lots of exploits, there's lots of tools that get used by targeted attackers. It's meant that the entry level for people getting into APTs is much lower than it's ever been. There are more resources available than ever. Targeted attackers typically try to get hold of data, but there are other examples of targeted attacks where they destroy data, so-called wipers. We think these are likely to be used by wider groups now, and the temptation will be to use them as a sort of denial of service attack. We've seen plenty of examples of attackers trying to poison the supply chain. In other words, using a company as a stepping stone to get to some other companies. We think it's likely in the future that they might actually try and go deeper and try and do this with hardware. Mobile attacks are not going away anytime soon, and mobile technology has become a core part of the targeted attacker's arsenal. That will continue. Now, for all the sophistication of targeted attacks, there's no question that phishing and social engineering generally will continue to be a massive factor in targeted attacks. In other words, manipulating human psychology as a way of getting a foothold in an organization. And what easier way to do that than by actually targeting a social media giant and stealing data from it. If you want to know more about what the future holds, check out our predictions on securelist.com.